The threshold between worlds. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Right now, in this very moment, imagine a place where the laws of physics bend to your will, where you can soar through skies painted in impossible colors, where your thoughts become tangible and your imagination constructs entire worlds around you. This is not science fiction. This is not fantasy. This is something your brain does every single night, and tonight we are going to explore how you can become fully conscious while it happens. Welcome to Relaxing Science. Before we begin this journey together, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel. Give this video a like and share with us where you are listening from right now. Tell us the time where you are and what brought you to this moment of curiosity. Your interaction helps us create more content like this, content designed to relax your mind while expanding your understanding of the extraordinary biology that makes you human. Lucid dreaming stands at the intersection of sleep and consciousness, a threshold between two worlds that science once dismissed as impossible. Yet neuroscientists around the globe have now confirmed what many cultures have known for centuries. The human brain can maintain awareness while dreaming. Not only that, but this awareness can be cultivated, developed, and deepened through specific practices grounded in neuroscience. When you experience a lucid dream, you are not escaping reality. You are accessing a different mode of consciousness, one in which your brain operates with unique flexibility and creative potential. Think about the last time you had a vivid dream. Perhaps you were flying, or you found yourself in a familiar place that felt subtly wrong. Maybe you were with people you love, or you were solving a problem that seemed impossible in waking life. In that moment, you were experiencing the full power of your brain's dreaming capacity. Your brain was generating sensory experiences so convincing that at the time, you believed them to be real. The visual cortex was painting landscapes. The motor cortex was simulating movement. Your emotional centers were generating feelings of joy, fear, or wonder. All of this happened while your body remained still and safe in sleep. Now imagine adding one more element to this remarkable process: awareness. Imagine knowing while you are dreaming that you are dreaming. This is lucidity. This is the moment when the sleeping mind recognizes itself as the dreaming mind. When this happens, everything changes. You do not wake up. You remain in the dream, but now you possess the conscious knowledge that you are in a dream. This knowledge opens a doorway to possibilities that seem impossible from the waking world. You can test the boundaries of the dream. You can transform the dream landscape. You can practice skills, explore your creativity, and confront fears in a space that feels completely real, but carries no real-world consequences. The scientific study of lucid dreaming is relatively young, but the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. Researchers using advanced brain imaging have documented the exact neural signatures of lucid dreaming. They have identified which brain regions activate during lucidity, how these regions communicate with each other, and how this communication differs from ordinary dreaming. They have discovered that lucid dreaming is not a rare talent reserved for a select few. Rather, it is a skill that can be learned and developed through consistent practice. Some people experience lucid dreams naturally and frequently. Others need to cultivate the ability, but the capacity exists within every human brain. Throughout this exploration, we will move through the science with gentleness and wonder. We will not overwhelm you with technical details, but rather, we will paint a picture of how your brain accomplishes this extraordinary feat. We will understand the specific brain waves that characterize lucid dreaming. We will learn about the regions of your brain that must communicate in particular ways for lucidity to emerge. We will discover the practical techniques that neuroscience has validated as effective for inducing lucid dreams. And we will explore the transformative potential that awaits you when you learn to navigate the landscape of your own dreams with conscious intention. The journey from ordinary dreaming to lucid dreaming is not a leap into the unknown. It is a gradual awakening within a process that your brain is already doing naturally. Every night, your brain cycles through different stages of sleep. During some of these stages, your brain generates the dreams that you may or may not remember upon waking. Within these dreams, the conditions for lucidity are already present. We simply need to understand these conditions and learn to recognize them. We need to plant seeds of awareness that will germinate during sleep. We need to align our practices with the natural rhythms of your brain's sleep architecture. As we move deeper into this exploration, you may notice your mind becoming calmer. You may find yourself breathing more slowly. This is intentional. The exploration of lucid dreaming is inherently relaxing because it invites you to trust your own mind, to recognize the extraordinary nature of your own consciousness, and to appreciate the vastness of your inner experience. There is no pressure here. There is no judgment. We are simply observing with curiosity and wonder the mechanics of something that is happening inside you right now, even as you sleep. The promise of this journey is not merely intellectual understanding. Yes, you will learn how your brain achieves lucidity. Yes, you will understand the neuroscience behind the experiences that lucid dreamers report. But more importantly, you will gain practical knowledge that you can apply tonight, tomorrow night, and every night thereafter. You will discover techniques that are simple, natural, and aligned with how your brain actually works. You will learn to recognize the signs that a lucid dream is approaching. You will develop the ability to stabilize lucidity once it occurs. And you will begin to access the creative, emotional, and spiritual benefits that emerge when you become the conscious architect of your dream world. The human brain is perhaps the most complex object in the known universe. It contains roughly 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others through synaptic connections. These connections form networks of almost incomprehensible complexity. Yet from this complexity emerges something miraculous: consciousness, the ability to be aware, the ability to think about your own thinking, the ability to imagine, to create, to problem solve, to feel, and within the architecture of this same brain, the ability to maintain consciousness even while your body sleeps and your connection to external reality is severed. This is the foundation upon which lucid dreaming rests. As you listen to these words, your brain is absorbing information, but it is also doing something else. It is beginning to shift its relationship to the concept of dreaming. It is beginning to recognize that dreams are not random noise generated by a sleeping brain, but rather sophisticated simulations generated by neural systems working in coordination. It is beginning to understand that you can develop influence over these simulations. This shift in understanding is itself the first step toward lucidity. The more you understand how your brain generates dreams, the more you will begin to recognize the dreamlike quality of certain experiences, both during sleep and sometimes even during waking hours. Let this exploration be a gift to yourself, a gift of curiosity, a gift of self-discovery, a gift of recognizing the vast potential that exists within your own mind. As we move forward through the remaining exploration, you will find that each section builds upon what came before. We will move from understanding the basic neuroscience of sleep and dreaming to the specific mechanisms that allow lucidity to emerge, to the practical techniques you can use to cultivate lucid dreams, to the remarkable benefits that await you as you develop this skill. By the time we reach the end of this journey, you will possess not only knowledge, but also a roadmap for your own personal exploration. The night is calling, your dreams are waiting, and within those dreams lies a vast, untapped territory of potential. Let us now begin to map this territory. Let us understand the landscape of your sleeping mind. Let us discover how consciousness persists in different forms across different states of being. The threshold between worlds is about to open. The sleeping brain awakens. Your brain never truly rests, even as you drift into sleep. Even as your conscious connection to the external world fades, your brain continues its remarkable work. The patterns of electrical activity change. The flow of neurochemicals shifts. New regions activate while others grow quieter, and yet the brain remains fundamentally awake, fundamentally active, fundamentally aware in ways that are very different from waking consciousness, but no less real, no less significant. When you first fall asleep, your brain enters a state called non-REM sleep, or NREM sleep. This is a period of relative quiet, a time when your brain consolidates memories, repairs tissue, and prepares for the deeper work that comes later in the sleep cycle. During NREM sleep, your brain waves slow down. The electrical activity becomes more synchronized. It is as though your brain is shifting gears, downshifting from the rapid-fire, scattered activity of waking consciousness into a more organized, more cohesive pattern. Your muscles relax, your heart rate slows, your body temperature drops slightly. Everything about your physiology signals a transition into a different mode of operation. But sleep is not a single uniform state. Rather, it is a dynamic process that cycles through different stages. After approximately 90 minutes of NREM sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain shifts abruptly into a completely different state. This is REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. And this is where dreaming happens. This is where the magic occurs. During REM sleep, your brain waves accelerate. They begin to resemble the patterns of waking consciousness. Yet something is fundamentally different. Your eyes move rapidly beneath your eyelids, darting back and forth in synchronized movements. Your brain is highly active, consuming oxygen and glucose at rates comparable to waking consciousness. In fact, certain regions of your brain are even more active during REM sleep than during waking consciousness. Yet your muscles are paralyzed. This is called REM atonia, a natural paralysis that prevents you from acting out your dreams. Imagine what would happen if your body could move freely while your brain was lost in the simulation of a dream. You would thrash about. You would injure yourself. The paralysis is a protective mechanism, a way that your brain keeps you safe while it explores the landscape of imagination. Within this state of REM sleep, your brain is doing something extraordinary. It is generating a complete sensory experience. It is creating visual landscapes, sounds, tactile sensations, even tastes and smells. The visual cortex is firing intensely, painting images that your sleeping mind perceives as real. The auditory cortex is creating sounds. The somatosensory cortex is simulating physical sensations. Your brain is essentially hallucinating, but it is doing so in a coordinated narrative way that creates the experience of a dream world. Now here is where it becomes even more interesting. While your brain is generating these sensory experiences, it is simultaneously engaging in reasoning, problem-solving, and emotional processing. You are not simply experiencing a dream passively. Your brain is thinking within the dream. It is making connections, it is working through problems, it is processing emotions. All of this is happening while your prefrontal cortex, the region most associated with logical thinking and self-awareness, is significantly less active than during waking consciousness. This is why dreams often have a quality of logic that is different from waking logic. Things happen in dreams that would seem impossible or contradictory in waking life, yet in the dream they feel completely natural. The neurotransmitter landscape changes dramatically during REM sleep. During waking consciousness, your brain is bathed in norepinephrine, a neurochemical that promotes alertness and critical thinking. But during REM sleep, norepinephrine levels drop dramatically. At the same time, acetylcholine levels rise. Acetylcholine is associated with memory formation, vivid sensory experiences, and creative thinking. This shift in neurochemistry is part of what makes dreams feel so vivid, so emotionally intense, so creative. Your brain is operating under a completely different chemical regime, and this regime enables different types of processing than what happens during waking consciousness. Think about the quality of a vivid dream. You might find yourself in a location that is familiar yet subtly wrong. The architecture is strange. The sky is an unusual color. People you know are present, but they look slightly different. In a lucid dream, these inconsistencies become clues. They signal to the dreaming mind that something is not quite right. They trigger the question, could I be dreaming? But in an ordinary dream, these inconsistencies do not trigger this question. Instead, your dreaming brain accepts them as normal. This is because the regions of your brain that are responsible for critical evaluation, for comparing current experience to remembered experience, for questioning the nature of reality, are less active during REM sleep. Yet this is not a complete shutdown of these regions. They are not absent, they are simply operating at a reduced capacity. And this is where the possibility of lucid dreaming emerges. If you can somehow enhance the activity in these critical thinking regions while remaining in REM sleep, if you can increase your awareness of the nature of your experience while still remaining immersed in the dream, then you achieve lucidity. You become aware that you are dreaming while the dream continues around you. Throughout the night, your brain cycles through NREM and REM sleep multiple times. A typical night consists of 4 to 6 complete sleep cycles, each lasting approximately 90 minutes. During the first cycle of the night, REM sleep might last only a few minutes, but as the night progresses, the duration of REM sleep increases. By the final cycles of the night, you might spend 30 to 40 minutes in REM sleep. This is significant for lucid dreaming because it means that the longer you sleep, the more opportunities you have for lucidity to occur. The REM periods late in the night are longer, richer, and more conducive to the kind of sustained consciousness that lucid dreaming requires. Your brain's activity during sleep is not random. It is organized, it follows patterns. These patterns can be measured. They can be observed. They can be understood. When researchers place electrodes on the scalp to measure brainwaves, they can see the distinctive patterns of different sleep stages. During REM sleep, the pattern is called a desynchronized EEG, meaning that the electrical activity is rapid and varied, similar to waking consciousness. This is one of the paradoxes of REM sleep. Your brain looks awake, but your consciousness is immersed in a dream. The activation patterns within the brain during REM sleep reveal which regions are most active. The visual cortex is highly activated, which makes sense given that dreams are often predominantly visual. The limbic system, including the amygdala and the hippocampus, is highly activated, which explains the emotional intensity of dreams and their connection to memory. The prefrontal cortex, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, shows reduced activation. This region is associated with logical thinking, with the ability to evaluate information critically, with self-awareness. Its reduced activity during ordinary REM sleep is why dreams seem to bypass logic. But in lucid dreams, this region shows increased activation compared to ordinary dreams. This is the neural signature of lucidity. This is the mark of a brain that is both dreaming and aware that it is dreaming. The blood flow in your brain during REM sleep tells a similar story. Functional neuroimaging studies show increased blood flow to regions involved in emotion, visual imagery, and memory, while blood flow to regions involved in logical reasoning and self-reflection is reduced. Yet in lucid dreamers, the pattern is different. In lucid dreamers, there is increased activation in the anterior prefrontal cortex, the region involved in metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking, to be aware of your own awareness. There is also increased connectivity between different regions of the brain, suggesting that lucidity involves a kind of communication between different brain systems that does not occur in ordinary dreams. This is remarkable because it means that lucid dreaming is not a mystical state, not something outside the realm of neuroscience, but rather a specific pattern of brain activity that can be measured, observed, and understood. It means that the subjective experience of becoming aware that you are dreaming corresponds to measurable changes in brain function. It means that the difference between an ordinary dream and a lucid dream is not a difference in the fundamental nature of consciousness, but rather a difference in which brain regions are active and how those regions communicate with each other. As you listen to this, your brain is receiving this information. It is processing these concepts, and in doing so, it is beginning to understand something fundamental about its own nature. It is beginning to recognize that consciousness is not a single monolithic state, but rather something that exists in different forms, different configurations, different modes depending on the activity patterns of different brain regions. This understanding is itself the foundation for lucidity. The more you understand how your brain works during sleep, the more you will begin to recognize the dreamlike quality of certain experiences, and the more likely you are to achieve lucidity when you next enter REM sleep. The moment of recognition. There is a moment that defines the entire experience of lucid dreaming. It is a moment so profound, so transformative, that people who experience it often describe it as one of the most memorable moments of their lives. This is the moment when the dreaming mind suddenly recognizes itself as the dreaming mind. This is the moment when awareness blooms within the dream. This is the instant when you realize, I am dreaming. This moment does not come from outside. It does not come from some external force waking you up. Rather, it comes from within the dream itself. Something within the dream triggers a question in your mind. You see something that does not quite fit. You notice something that contradicts your expectations. You feel a sense of incongruity. And in response to this incongruity, your dreaming mind asks a question. Could this be a dream? In that instant, as the question forms, awareness crystallizes. The answer comes, yes, I am dreaming. What happens neurologically in that moment? Your prefrontal cortex, the region that has been relatively quiet during your ordinary dream, suddenly becomes more active. The anterior prefrontal cortex specifically shows increased activation. This is the region associated with metacognition, with the ability to reflect on your own mental processes, to be aware of your own awareness. Simultaneously, there is increased communication between different regions of your brain. The visual cortex continues to generate the dream imagery. The limbic system continues to generate emotions. But now these regions are in enhanced communication with the prefrontal regions that are evaluating and reflecting on the experience. Think about what this means. Before the moment of lucidity, your brain was operating in a kind of compartmentalized way. Different regions were active, but they were not engaged in the kind of reflective dialogue that characterizes metacognition. Your visual system was generating images. Your emotional system was responding to those images. Your memory system was retrieving relevant information. But no region was stepping back and asking, what is the nature of this experience? No region was comparing the current experience to waking experience and noting the differences. Then, in a single moment, this changes. The reflective system engages. The metacognitive awareness emerges, and suddenly you know that you are dreaming. The triggers for this moment of recognition are varied. Sometimes it is a logical inconsistency. You notice that you cannot read text clearly in your dream, or that text changes when you look away and back again. In waking life, text remains stable. In dreams, it often shifts and changes. When you notice this difference, it triggers the question, could I be dreaming? Sometimes it is an emotional trigger. You experience a feeling that is unusual or inappropriate for the situation you are in. You feel fear, but there is nothing frightening in the dream. Or you feel joy, but nothing joyful is happening. This emotional mismatch can trigger metacognitive reflection. Sometimes it is a physical sensation. You try to move, but your movement feels strange or sluggish. Or you try to speak, but your voice does not work properly. These physical anomalies can alert your dreaming mind to the fact that something is not quite right. In many cases, the trigger is something that a lucid dreamer has deliberately planted in their own mind before sleep. They have set an intention to notice something specific during their dreams. They have practiced a reality check repeatedly during waking hours, a simple test to determine whether they are awake or dreaming. And when they perform this reality check while dreaming, it produces a different result than it does during waking life. And this difference triggers lucidity. We will explore these techniques more deeply later, but for now, it is important to understand that the moment of recognition can be cultivated. It is not random. It is not luck. It is the result of a specific neural process that can be triggered by specific stimuli or by specific intentions. Once lucidity has emerged, something remarkable happens to your brain's activity pattern. The regions involved in self-reflection remain active, but they do not shut down the dream. The visual cortex continues to generate imagery. The limbic system continues to generate emotion. The regions involved in movement and sensation continue to simulate the experience of being in a body. But now, overlaid on top of all of this, is the reflective awareness. You are simultaneously immersed in the dream and aware that you are immersed in the dream. You are both the experiencer and the observer of the experience. This dual consciousness is the defining characteristic of lucid dreaming. It is not a partial awakening. You do not wake up. You do not lose the dream. Rather, you maintain full immersion in the dream while simultaneously maintaining awareness of the nature of the experience. This is a very specific state of consciousness, different from waking, different from ordinary dreaming, but real, measurable, and verifiable. The moment of recognition often has a quality of surprise. Even if you have been practicing to achieve lucidity, even if you have been setting intentions and performing reality checks, when the moment actually arrives, it often comes as a surprise. There is a sense of wonder. There is often a moment of excitement, almost like waking up, but not quite. Some lucid dreamers describe it as a moment of profound realization, as though they have suddenly understood something fundamental about the nature of reality. Others describe it as a moment of freedom, as though invisible constraints have suddenly been lifted. Still others describe it as a moment of homecoming, as though they have returned to a place they have always known but had forgotten. What is happening neurologically during these subjective experiences? The increased activation in the prefrontal cortex is associated with the sense of control and agency that lucid dreamers report. The limbic system activation is associated with the emotional response to the realization. The continued visual activation is associated with the continued immersion in the dream. Different lucid dreamers may experience different combinations of these neural patterns, and this may explain the variation in subjective experience. Some lucid dreamers report that their lucid dreams feel very similar to waking life, with full sensory vividness and emotional intensity. Others report that their lucid dreams feel more abstract, more symbolic, less tied to sensory details. These variations may correspond to variations in which brain regions are most active during the lucid dream. The moment of recognition is also a moment of choice. Once you realize that you are dreaming, you face a decision. What do you do with this knowledge? Do you try to maintain the lucidity and explore the dream? Do you try to perform specific actions? Do you try to ask questions of the dream? Do you try to transform the dream environment? Different lucid dreamers make different choices, and these choices lead to different experiences. Some lucid dreamers focus on the sensation of flying, of moving through the dream space with freedom and grace. Others focus on meeting dream characters, on having conversations with aspects of their own mind. Others focus on solving problems, on using the dream as a laboratory for creative thinking. Still others focus on simply observing, on being present with the experience without trying to control it. The moment of recognition is also fragile. It is possible to lose lucidity while remaining in the dream. If you become too excited, if you try too hard to maintain control, if you focus too intensely on logical thinking, the dream can slip away. The immersion in the dream can deepen, and the reflective awareness can fade. You can find yourself back in an ordinary dream, having lost the lucidity. This is why lucid dreamers often speak of the importance of maintaining a kind of relaxed awareness, a balance between engagement and observation, between action and reception. Yet it is also possible to stabilize lucidity. If you remain calm, if you focus on the sensations of the dream, if you engage with the dream in a way that is playful rather than forceful, the lucidity can deepen and extend. The dream can become more vivid, more stable, more responsive to your intentions. Some lucid dreamers report that their lucid dreams can last for extended periods, lasting subjective hours, or even seeming to last through an entire night. During these extended lucid dreams, they can perform complex actions, solve problems, explore vast landscapes, and engage in meaningful experiences. The moment of recognition is both an ending and a beginning. It is an ending to the ordinary dream, to the state of being lost in the dream without awareness of its nature. And it is a beginning of something new, something that combines the immersion and creativity of dreaming with the awareness and intentionality of waking consciousness. This moment is the threshold we spoke of at the beginning of this exploration. This is the threshold between worlds, the place where two modes of consciousness meet and merge. As you listen to these words, your brain is beginning to understand what this moment feels like, even if you have not yet experienced it. Your brain is beginning to develop neural patterns associated with metacognitive awareness. Your brain is beginning to prime itself for the moment when lucidity will emerge. The seeds are being planted, the stage is being set, and when you next enter REM sleep, your brain will be more prepared to recognize the signs of dreaming, more ready to ask the question, more able to trigger the moment of recognition. Mapping the dream landscape. The architecture of consciousness during lucid dreaming is complex and multifaceted. It is not a simple matter of one region of the brain being active while others are inactive. Rather, it is a matter of specific regions being active in specific ways and communicating with each other through specific neural pathways. To understand lucid dreaming fully, we must understand the map of these regions and pathways, how they interact, and how their interaction creates the unique consciousness of the lucid dream. At the center of this map is the prefrontal cortex, particularly the anterior prefrontal cortex. This is the region most associated with self-reflection, with the ability to think about your own thinking. During ordinary waking consciousness, this region is highly active. It is constantly monitoring your thoughts, evaluating your experiences, comparing current situations to past experiences, planning for the future. But during ordinary dreaming, this region quiets down. This is why dreams can seem illogical, why they can contain contradictions that you do not notice at the time, why you can accept the impossible as normal within a dream. The reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex during ordinary REM sleep means that this reflective, evaluative function is diminished. But in lucid dreams, something different happens. The anterior prefrontal cortex becomes more active. This increased activity is what enables the reflective awareness that characterizes lucidity. It is what allows you to step back from the dream experience and observe it, to ask questions about it, to recognize that it is a dream. This increased activity in the prefrontal cortex during lucid dreaming has been documented in multiple neuroimaging studies. When researchers compare the brain activity of lucid dreamers to the brain activity of ordinary dreamers, one of the most consistent findings is this increase in prefrontal activation. Connected to the prefrontal cortex is a network of regions that are collectively involved in metacognition and self-awareness. These include the medial prefrontal cortex, which is involved in self-referential thinking, and the anterior cingulate cortex, which is involved in attention and error detection. During lucid dreaming, these regions show increased activity and increased connectivity with each other. They are talking to each other more, communicating more intensely, creating a kind of dialogue between different aspects of your conscious awareness. Another crucial region in the map of lucid dreaming is the parietal cortex. This region is involved in your sense of your body in space, in your awareness of where your body is and how it is oriented. During waking consciousness, the parietal cortex is constantly processing information from your body, from your sensory organs, creating a kind of body map that helps you navigate the world. During ordinary dreaming, the parietal cortex continues to generate a sense of embodiment, which is why you feel like you have a body in your dreams, why you can move and feel sensations. But during lucid dreaming, the parietal cortex shows a different pattern of activity. It continues to generate the sense of embodiment, but it also shows increased connectivity with the prefrontal regions involved in self-reflection. This may explain why lucid dreamers often report a sense of dual consciousness, of being simultaneously immersed in a body in the dream and simultaneously aware of the nature of that experience. The visual cortex remains highly active throughout all stages of REM sleep, including lucid dreaming. This is why dreams are so visually rich, why the dream world can seem so vivid and detailed. But during lucid dreaming, the visual cortex shows increased connectivity with the prefrontal regions. This means that the visual information being generated is not just being passively received, rather, it is being actively processed, evaluated, and interpreted by the reflective regions of the brain. This enhanced connectivity may contribute to the reported vividness and clarity of lucid dreams compared to ordinary dreams. The limbic system, including the amygdala and the hippocampus, remains active during lucid dreaming. The amygdala is the center of emotional processing. It generates the emotional responses to the dream content. During lucid dreaming, the amygdala continues to generate emotions, which is why lucid dreams can be emotionally intense. But the increased connectivity between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex during lucid dreaming may allow for greater emotional regulation. You can feel emotions in the lucid dream, but you also have some capacity to observe and manage those emotions. This is different from ordinary dreaming, where emotions can seem to overwhelm and control the experience. The hippocampus is crucial for memory formation. During sleep, the hippocampus plays a key role in consolidating memories, in transferring information from short-term memory to long-term storage. During lucid dreaming, the hippocampus remains active in this memory consolidation function, but it also becomes more involved in the reflective processes that characterize lucidity. Some researchers suggest that the hippocampus may play a role in comparing current dream experiences to past experiences, in recognizing when something in the dream does not match what you know about the waking world. This comparison function may be crucial in triggering lucidity. The anterior insula is another region that shows increased activity during lucid dreaming. This region is involved in interoception, in the sensing of your body's internal states. During lucid dreaming, you have a strong sense of having a body, of experiencing sensations. The anterior insula is helping to generate this sense of embodied experience. The increased activity in the anterior insula during lucid dreaming, along with its increased connectivity with the prefrontal regions, may contribute to the sense of agency and control that lucid dreamers report. Now, these regions do not operate in isolation. They form networks. They communicate with each other through neural pathways. During lucid dreaming, one of the most significant changes is an increase in long-range connectivity between different brain regions. Normally, different regions of the brain operate somewhat independently, but during lucid dreaming, there is an increase in communication between distant regions. The prefrontal cortex is communicating more intensely with the visual cortex, with the parietal cortex, with the limbic system. This enhanced communication between normally distant regions is thought to be crucial for the emergence of lucidity. Think of it like a city at night. During ordinary dreaming, the city is functioning, but communication between distant neighborhoods is minimal. Each neighborhood operates in its own way, but during lucid dreaming, suddenly there are bright lights connecting the neighborhoods, sudden communication pathways that allow information to flow between them. The prefrontal neighborhood is now receiving vivid reports from the visual neighborhood about what is being seen. The parietal neighborhood is now sending detailed information about body position to the prefrontal neighborhood. The limbic neighborhood is now sending emotional information that is being received and processed by the prefrontal neighborhood. All of this enhanced communication creates a kind of integration, a coming together of different aspects of consciousness that normally remain somewhat separate during dreaming. This integration is what creates the subjective experience of lucidity. When you become lucid in a dream, you are not adding anything new to the dream. You are not injecting a new element. Rather, you are creating new connections, new communication pathways between elements that were already present. The reflective awareness was already a possibility in your brain. The visual creativity was already happening. The emotional processing was already occurring, but they were not communicating with each other. Lucidity is what happens when they begin to communicate. The implications of this neural map are profound. It means that lucidity is not a magical state, not something outside the realm of neuroscience. It is a specific pattern of brain organization. It is a specific way of connecting different neural systems, and because it is a specific pattern, it can be induced, it can be cultivated, it can be learned. If you can learn to activate and enhance the communication between these regions, you can learn to achieve lucidity. The map also reveals why lucid dreaming feels different from both waking consciousness and ordinary dreaming. During waking consciousness, the prefrontal cortex is active, but the visual imagery is coming from the external world, not being generated internally. During ordinary dreaming, vivid visual imagery is being generated, but the prefrontal reflective systems are quiet. During lucid dreaming, both are happening at the same time. The prefrontal systems are active and engaged. The visual systems are generating vivid internal imagery. The emotional systems are generating rich emotional experience. The body sense systems are generating a sense of embodiment. But all of these are happening simultaneously, and they are all communicating with each other. This unique configuration of brain activity creates a unique form of consciousness. As you understand this map, you are beginning to understand your own brain. You are beginning to recognize the different regions and systems that make consciousness possible. You are beginning to see how different ways of organizing these systems create different forms of consciousness. This understanding is itself a form of preparation for lucidity. The more you understand the neural basis of lucid dreaming, the more you are priming your own brain to achieve it. The bridge between sleep and wake. There exists a magical territory that exists nowhere and everywhere at the same time. It is the space between sleep and waking. It is the threshold where one state of consciousness is fading and another is beginning to emerge. This territory has a name, the hypnagogic state. It is the state you pass through as you fall asleep, and there is a corresponding state as you wake up, the hypnopompic state. These transitional states are among the most conducive to lucid dreaming. They are places where the conditions for lucidity are naturally present. They are bridges between worlds, and learning to recognize and navigate these bridges is one of the most direct paths to lucid dreaming. The hypnagogic state begins the moment you close your eyes with the intention to sleep. Your brain begins to shift out of the patterns of waking consciousness. Your eyes close, your body relaxes, your breathing slows, your brain waves begin to change. The rapid, irregular patterns of waking consciousness give way to slower, more synchronized patterns. But this transition is not instantaneous, it is gradual, and in the gradual transition, there is a period where you are no longer fully awake, but not yet fully asleep. You are in between. During this in-between state, something remarkable happens to your consciousness. You may begin to see imagery. These are not dreams yet, not the full narratives that characterize REM sleep. Rather, they are fragments of imagery. You might see faces, landscapes, abstract shapes, colors. You might hear sounds or voices. You might experience physical sensations. These experiences arise spontaneously, generated by your brain, but they are not connected to anything happening in your external environment. They are purely internal creations. They are hallucinations in a sense, but they are hallucinations that your brain is generating naturally as it transitions into sleep. What is happening neurologically during these experiences? Your sensory cortices are becoming active. The visual cortex is beginning to generate imagery, not in response to external light, but spontaneously. The auditory cortex is generating sounds. The somatosensory cortex is generating sensations. At the same time, your brain is becoming less responsive to external stimuli. The regions of your brain that process external sensory information are becoming quieter. Your attention is turning inward. Your consciousness is shifting away from the external world and toward the internal world of your own mind. Here is where it becomes interesting for lucid dreaming. During the hypnagogic state, you have a unique opportunity. You can observe the process of consciousness shifting. You can watch as your brain generates imagery. You can notice the transition from external awareness to internal awareness. And if you maintain awareness during this transition, if you remain conscious even as your brain shifts into the patterns of sleep, you can find yourself in a state that combines elements of both waking and sleeping consciousness. This is a kind of gateway to lucid dreaming. Many experienced lucid dreamers deliberately use the hypnagogic state to induce lucidity. They will lie in bed, set an intention to maintain consciousness as they fall asleep, and then simply observe what happens. They watch as the imagery emerges. They watch as their sense of their body in the bed begins to fade. They watch as the external world becomes less relevant and the internal world becomes more vivid. And at some point, they find themselves in a dream. But they have maintained continuous consciousness throughout the transition. They have fallen asleep while remaining aware. This is one of the most direct paths to lucid dreaming. The challenge with the hypnagogic state is that it is easy to lose consciousness. You can be observing the imagery, maintaining awareness, and then suddenly you are asleep. You have crossed the threshold into full sleep, into ordinary dreaming, and you have lost the continuity of consciousness. This is why many lucid dreamers report that using the hypnagogic state requires practice. You need to learn to maintain a kind of relaxed awareness, a balance between engagement and detachment that allows you to remain conscious even as your brain shifts into sleep patterns. One technique that can help with this is to focus on your breath. As you lie in bed preparing for sleep, you can focus on the natural rhythm of your breathing. You can feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. You can feel your chest rising and falling. This focus on the breath keeps a thread of awareness active, a kind of anchor point, even as the rest of your mind begins to drift into sleep. Some lucid dreamers report that this breath awareness can serve as a kind of lifeline, a way to maintain consciousness while the body drifts into sleep. Another technique is to use a kind of mental mantra or intention. As you lie in bed, you can repeat to yourself silently a phrase like, "I am dreaming," or "I will maintain consciousness as I sleep." This repetition of the intention keeps the reflective regions of your brain engaged. It keeps a part of your consciousness monitoring itself, watching for the moment when the transition into sleep occurs. And when that moment comes, when you feel yourself drifting, this intention can trigger a kind of metacognitive awareness. Your brain asks, "Am I still conscious? Am I maintaining awareness?" And this question can serve to maintain or restore consciousness even as the body drifts into sleep. The hypnopompic state. The transition from sleep to waking is equally valuable for lucid dreaming. As you wake up in the morning, as you emerge from sleep, your brain goes through a reverse transition. The patterns of sleep begin to give way to the patterns of waking consciousness. Your sensory awareness of the external world begins to return. You become aware of sounds in your environment, of light, of the feeling of your body in bed. But there is a period during this transition where you are not yet fully awake. You are still partially in the world of sleep, still partially immersed in dreams, but beginning to wake up. During this hypnopompic state, you can sometimes find yourself in a dream, but with a growing awareness that you are dreaming. You can feel yourself beginning to wake, but the dream is still vivid around you. This is an ideal moment for lucid dreaming. You can maintain the immersion in the dream, while the growing awareness of waking gives you the reflective consciousness to recognize that you are dreaming. Some lucid dreamers deliberately set their alarm to wake them during the night, specifically so that they can use this hypnopompic state to induce lucidity. They will wake briefly, then go back to sleep, and find themselves in a lucid dream. The relationship between the hypnagogic and hypnopompic states and lucid dreaming reveals something important about the nature of lucidity. Lucidity is not something that only happens in deep, established REM sleep. Rather, lucidity can happen at any point where there is a sufficient combination of dreamlike consciousness and reflective awareness. The hypnagogic and hypnopompic states naturally contain this combination. They naturally contain elements of both dream and waking consciousness. This is why they are such fertile ground for lucid dreaming. Understanding these transitional states also reveals something about how to cultivate lucidity in general. It shows that lucidity is not about forcing your consciousness into a particular state. Rather, it is about recognizing and working with the natural transitions that your consciousness already undergoes. Your brain naturally transitions between waking and sleeping multiple times each night. Your brain naturally generates dreams during REM sleep. Your brain naturally maintains some level of consciousness even during sleep. Lucidity is not something you are creating from scratch. It is something you are uncovering, something you are recognizing, something you are learning to work with. The bridges between sleep and wake are always there. Every night you cross them. Most of the time you cross them without noticing. But with practice, with intention, with the right techniques, you can learn to notice these crossings. You can learn to maintain consciousness during these crossings. You can learn to use these crossings as gateways to lucid dreaming. The threshold between worlds is not distant. It is not difficult to access. It is right there, waiting, part of your natural sleep cycle. You simply need to learn to recognize it, to honor it, and to step through it consciously. Reality checks as anchors. Imagine walking through your waking life with a simple question always in the back of your mind. Am I dreaming right now? This question might seem strange, even ridiculous. You know you are awake. You can feel the ground beneath your feet. You can see the world around you. You can interact with objects. Everything seems real. Yet this simple question, asked repeatedly throughout the day, can become one of the most powerful tools for inducing lucid dreams. This is the principle behind reality checks. A reality check is a simple test that you perform repeatedly during waking hours. The test is designed to have one result when you are awake and a different result when you are dreaming. By performing this test regularly, you create a habit. This habit becomes so ingrained that it carries over into your dreams. When you perform the reality check in a dream, you get the dream result, and this alerts you to the fact that you are dreaming. Lucidity emerges. The neuroscience behind reality checks is elegant. Every time you perform a reality check during waking hours, you are activating neural pathways associated with metacognitive awareness. You are training your brain to pause and reflect on the nature of your current experience. You are training your brain to question, to evaluate, to compare current experience to past experience. Each time you do this, you are strengthening the neural networks involved in this kind of reflection. You are making it more likely that these networks will activate spontaneously, even during dreams. There are many different types of reality checks that lucid dreamers use. One common reality check involves trying to push your hand through your palm. You hold up one hand and attempt to push a finger from your other hand through the palm of the first hand. In waking life, this does not work. Your finger cannot pass through your skin, but in dreams the physics is different. Your finger might pass through your palm, or your palm might feel soft and malleable, or the sensation might be strange in some way. This unusual result alerts your dreaming mind to the fact that something is not quite right. It triggers the question, could I be dreaming? And the answer often is yes. Another common reality check involves looking at text or numbers. You look at something with text, look away and then look back. In waking life, the text remains the same. In dreams, the text often changes. When you look back at something you just read in a dream, the words are often different. Sometimes they are completely different. Sometimes they are scrambled or distorted. This instability of text is one of the most reliable signs that you are dreaming. By practicing this reality check regularly during the day, by making it a habit to look at something with text, look away and look back, you are training your brain to notice this instability. When you perform this reality check in a dream, the text will likely change, and this change will trigger lucidity. Another reality check involves looking at your hands. You look at your hands, really look at them, paying attention to the details. In waking life, your hands look normal. You have the right number of fingers. Your hands are the right size and proportion. But in dreams, hands often look strange. You might have too many fingers or too few. Your hands might be distorted or disproportionate. Your hands might look translucent or strange in color. By making a habit of looking at your hands during the day, by paying close attention to them, you are creating a trigger that will carry over into your dreams. When you look at your hands in a dream, they will likely look strange, and this strangeness will alert you to the fact that you are dreaming. Yet another reality check involves trying to remember how you got where you are. You pause and ask yourself, how did I get here? What is the last thing I remember? In waking life, you can usually trace a logical chain of events that led to where you are now. But in dreams, the chain of events is often illogical or missing. You might find yourself in a location with no memory of how you got there, or the chain of events you remember might contain logical gaps or impossibilities. By practicing this reflection during the day, by making it a habit to trace the chain of events that led to your current location, you are training your brain to notice when this chain is broken or illogical. In a dream, when you perform this reality check and find that the chain is broken, you will realize that you are dreaming. Some reality checks involve the body. You might try to breathe through your nose while pinching your nostrils closed. In waking life, you cannot breathe when your nostrils are pinched closed. But in dreams, you can often breathe normally even with your nostrils pinched. This impossible sensation alerts you to the fact that you are dreaming. Another body-based reality check involves looking at your reflection in a mirror. In dreams, mirrors often show strange or distorted reflections. Your reflection might look different from how you expect it to look. It might move differently than you do. It might show a different person entirely. By making it a habit to look in mirrors during the day, you are setting up a trigger that will carry over into dreams. The key to making reality checks effective is consistency. A single reality check performed once a week will not have much effect, but a reality check performed dozens of times per day, integrated into your daily routine, becomes a powerful tool. The goal is to make reality checking so habitual that it happens automatically. You are walking down the street, and without conscious thought, you look at your hands. You are at work, and you automatically glance at some text to see if it changes. You are in conversation with someone, and you automatically trace back the chain of events that led to this conversation. How does this habit carry over into dreams? The answer lies in the nature of habit formation and the nature of consciousness during sleep. During waking consciousness, habits are controlled by neural circuits, particularly in the basal ganglia and the prefrontal cortex. When a habit is well established, it can be executed without conscious awareness. You can drive a car while thinking about something else. You can tie your shoes without paying attention. Your brain is executing a learned pattern automatically. During sleep, particularly during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex is less active, but the basal ganglia, the regions associated with habit execution, remain active. This means that established habits can persist into dreams. If you have established a strong habit of performing reality checks, this habit can manifest in your dreams. When you perform a reality check in a dream, you are not performing it consciously, in the sense that you are not deliberately deciding to do it. Rather, the habit is executing automatically, just as it does in waking life. But unlike in waking life, where the reality check produces the expected result, in the dream it produces a different result. Your finger passes through your palm. The text changes. Your hands look strange. This unexpected result breaks the automatic nature of the action. It interrupts the habitual pattern. And this interruption triggers a moment of reflection. Your brain asks, "Why did this not work as expected?" And the answer comes, "Because I am dreaming." This is a beautiful example of how habit and consciousness interact. The habit carries over into the dream automatically, but the unexpected result of the habit triggers a conscious reflection. This reflection is what creates lucidity. The habit serves as a kind of anchor, something that reliably carries over into dreams. And when this anchor produces an unexpected result, it alerts your conscious mind to the nature of your current experience. The effectiveness of reality checks varies from person to person. Some people find that certain reality checks work better for them than others. Some people find that they become lucid through reality checks very quickly, while others need to practice for longer periods. The variation has to do with individual differences in brain structure and function, with differences in how easily different people's brains form habits, with differences in how readily different people notice inconsistencies in their experience. But regardless of these individual differences, the principle remains the same. Consistent reality checking creates a habit. This habit carries over into dreams. When the habit produces an unexpected result in the dream, it triggers lucidity. As you listen to this, you are beginning to understand the power of this simple practice. You are beginning to recognize how your daily habits can reshape your nightly experiences. You are beginning to see how something as simple as looking at your hands or reading text can become a gateway to lucidity. The practice of reality checking is not complicated. It does not require any special equipment. It does not require any special knowledge. It simply requires consistency. It simply requires the intention to question the nature of your experience again and again, until this questioning becomes automatic. And when this automatic questioning carries over into your dreams, when it produces an unexpected result in the dream, you will find yourself awake within the dream, aware that you are dreaming, ready to explore the infinite possibilities that await you. The dream journal's hidden power. There is a practice so simple, so fundamental, that it is often overlooked, yet its effects are profound. It is the practice of keeping a dream journal. Every morning before you fully wake up, before the details of your dreams fade away, you write down what you remember. You describe the landscapes you visited. You describe the people you encountered. You describe the emotions you felt. You describe the strange logic and the unexpected events. You write it all down, preserving these fleeting experiences before they dissolve into the mists of forgetting. This simple practice of writing down your dreams has multiple effects on your brain, all of which contribute to the likelihood of lucid dreaming. The first effect is on memory. Dreams are notoriously difficult to remember. Most people forget the vast majority of their dreams within minutes of waking. The reason is that during REM sleep, the neurochemical environment is different from waking consciousness. During waking consciousness, norepinephrine is abundant. Norepinephrine is crucial for memory formation, for consolidating experiences into long-term memory. But during REM sleep, norepinephrine levels drop dramatically. This reduction in norepinephrine is one of the reasons why dreams are so difficult to remember. However, the act of writing down your dreams immediately upon waking creates a new encoding of the dream memory. As you write, you are using your prefrontal cortex, the region involved in language production and narrative construction. You are translating the visual, emotional, and sensory experiences of the dream into language. This translation process engages different neural pathways than the original dream experience. It creates a new language-based encoding of the dream memory, stored in different brain regions. This new encoding is much more stable, much more resistant to forgetting than the original dream memory. By writing down your dreams, you are essentially creating a backup copy of the dream memory in a more stable format. The result is that your dream recall improves. If you keep a dream journal consistently, Within a few weeks, you will likely notice that you remember more dreams. You might remember fragments at first, but as you continue the practice, the fragments will become more complete. You will remember longer sequences. You will remember more detail. You will remember multiple dreams from a single night. This improved dream recall is valuable in itself. The more you remember your dreams, the more you are maintaining a connection to this aspect of your experience. You are giving it attention. You are valuing it. And as you value it more, your brain devotes more resources to remembering it. But there is a second, more subtle effect of keeping a dream journal. As you write down your dreams, as you review what you have written, you begin to notice patterns. You might notice that certain locations appear repeatedly in your dreams. You might notice that certain people appear frequently. You might notice that certain emotions tend to arise in particular contexts. You might notice that certain types of events tend to happen in your dreams. As you notice these patterns, you are engaging in a kind of analysis, a kind of reflection on your own dreams. You are stepping back from the dreams and examining them. This reflective process is itself a form of metacognition. It is a form of thinking about your own thinking, of being aware of your own mental processes. This reflective process, this analytical approach to your own dreams, strengthens the neural pathways associated with metacognition. It makes it more likely that this kind of reflection will occur spontaneously, even during dreams. And when metacognitive reflection occurs during a dream, when you find yourself analyzing your dream while you are having it, you are likely to notice something unusual. You are likely to notice something that does not quite fit. And this noticing is what triggers lucidity. A third effect of keeping a dream journal is the establishment of intention. Every time you write down your dreams, you are reinforcing the intention to remember your dreams. You are telling your brain, dreams are important. I want to remember them. I value them. This repeated intention creates a kind of mental set. Your brain becomes oriented toward dreams. It begins to devote more resources to processing dreams, to remembering dreams, to paying attention to dreams. This orientation toward dreams, this mental set, makes it more likely that when you are having a dream, your brain will be in a state of heightened awareness regarding the dream. It makes it more likely that you will notice something unusual about the dream, and this noticing can trigger lucidity. The practice of keeping a dream journal also reveals something important about the nature of your own mind. As you read over your dreams, as you review the landscapes and scenarios that your brain has generated, you begin to develop a sense of your own creativity. You begin to recognize that your brain is capable of extraordinary imaginative feats. You begin to recognize that the dream world is not something foreign or alien, but rather something that your own mind is generating. This recognition, this sense of ownership over your own dreams, is psychologically powerful. It creates a sense of agency. It creates a sense that the dream world is not something that happens to you, but something that you are creating. This sense of agency, this recognition that the dream world is your own creation, is crucial for lucidity. When you become lucid in a dream, one of the first things you often realize is that you created this world. Your brain created this landscape. Your brain created these characters. Your brain generated all of this. And if you created it, then you have some agency in it. You can influence it. You can change it. You can explore it. This sense of agency and ownership is much more likely to emerge if you have already developed a sense of connection to your dreams through keeping a dream journal. The dream journal also serves a practical function. It provides a record of your dreams over time. As you accumulate journal entries, you create a kind of dream history. You can look back and see the dreams you had a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. This historical record can reveal long-term patterns. It can show how your dreams change in response to life circumstances. It can show how certain themes recur. It can show your own personal dream symbolism. Understanding your own personal dream language, your own personal dream symbols, is valuable for lucid dreaming. When you recognize your own personal symbols in a dream, when you notice something that you know from your dream journal is characteristic of your dreams, you can use this as a trigger for lucidity. Some lucid dreamers report that simply by reviewing their dream journal, by reading over descriptions of their previous dreams, they become more likely to become lucid in subsequent dreams. The theory is that this review process primes the brain. It activates neural networks associated with dreams. It creates a kind of mental context in which dreams are foreground, in which dreams are being actively processed. And when you go to sleep in this mental context, your brain is more likely to maintain some level of awareness during dreams. Your brain is more likely to notice something unusual in the dream. Your brain is more likely to trigger lucidity. The act of writing itself, the physical act of putting pen to paper, also has an effect. Writing engages different neural pathways than simply thinking or speaking. It involves the motor cortex, the regions controlling hand movement. It involves the visual cortex as you watch the words forming on the page. It involves the language regions as you translate thought into language. This multi-system engagement creates a more complete encoding of the memory. It creates more neural pathways associated with the dream memory. This richer encoding makes the dream memory more stable and more accessible. Some lucid dreamers report that the dream journal itself becomes a kind of anchor to the world of dreams. When they review their journal, when they read their own descriptions of dreams, they feel a kind of connection to the dream world. They feel a kind of resonance. And when they go to sleep after reviewing their journal, they often find themselves in a lucid dream. The journal has served as a kind of bridge between waking and dreaming consciousness, a way of maintaining connection to the dream world even while awake. The practice of keeping a dream journal is thus far more powerful than it might initially appear. It is not simply a record-keeping exercise, it is a form of mental training. It is a way of strengthening the neural pathways associated with dream recall, with metacognitive awareness, with the sense of agency over your own mental creations. It is a way of establishing intention regarding dreams. It is a way of recognizing patterns in your own mind. And all of these effects combine to make lucid dreaming more likely. The simple act of writing down your dreams, done consistently over time, gradually reshapes your relationship to your dreams. It makes you more aware of them. It makes you more connected to them. And when you are more aware of and connected to your dreams, lucidity becomes more likely. Intention setting and neural priming. There is a moment every night as you lie in bed preparing for sleep when your mind is particularly open to suggestion. This moment is precious. This moment is powerful. This moment is the perfect time to set an intention for your dreams. The intention might be simple. I will have a lucid dream tonight. Or it might be more specific. I will recognize when I am dreaming. Or it might be even more detailed. I will become lucid in my dreams and fly. The specific wording matters less than the fact that you are setting the intention, that you are directing your mind toward a specific goal before sleep. The neuroscience of intention setting is fascinating. When you form an intention, when you consciously decide that you are going to do something, specific regions of your brain become active. The prefrontal cortex is activated. This is the region involved in goal-directed behavior, in planning, in the conscious direction of attention and action. The anterior cingulate cortex is activated. This region is involved in the detection of conflicts and the resolution of conflicts, particularly when you are trying to achieve a goal that requires effort or that conflicts with automatic behaviors. The posterior cingulate cortex is activated. This region is involved in self-referential processing, in thinking about yourself and your own goals. When you set an intention before sleep, you are essentially programming your brain. You are activating the neural circuits associated with goal-directed behavior. You are creating a kind of mental set, an orientation toward a specific goal. And here is the remarkable part. This mental set persists into sleep. Even though the prefrontal cortex becomes less active during REM sleep, the goal that you have set remains active in your brain. The intention that you have formed continues to influence your brain's processing, even in sleep. This phenomenon is related to something called the intention effect, or goal priming. When you form an intention to achieve something, your brain becomes more likely to notice opportunities to achieve that goal. Your brain becomes more sensitive to stimuli related to that goal. Your brain becomes more likely to generate thoughts, images, or scenarios related to that goal. If you set an intention before sleep to have a lucid dream, your brain becomes more likely to generate dreams related to lucidity. Your brain becomes more likely to notice signs that you are dreaming. Your brain becomes more likely to trigger lucidity. The process of intention setting works through multiple mechanisms. First, there is the mechanism of attention. By setting an intention, you are directing your attention towards something. You are saying, "This is what I want to focus on. This is what matters to me." This direction of attention affects which neural networks are activated. It affects which brain regions are engaged. It affects which aspects of your experience you are likely to notice. If you have set an intention to have a lucid dream, your brain will be more likely to notice signs of dreaming when they occur. Your brain will be more likely to activate the neural networks associated with lucidity. Second, there is the mechanism of memory and association. As you set an intention, you are creating associations in your brain. You are associating the state of sleep with the goal of lucid dreaming. You're associating the experience of dreaming with the intention to become lucid. Over time, these associations strengthen. Your brain begins to automatically activate the neural networks associated with lucidity as you enter sleep. The intention becomes embedded in your brain's response to sleep. Eventually, the intention becomes so automatic that it no longer requires conscious effort. You simply go to sleep, and your brain automatically engages in the processes that lead to lucidity. Third, there is the mechanism of expectation. By setting an intention, you are creating an expectation. You are expecting that you will have a lucid dream. This expectation affects how your brain processes information during the dream. If you expect to notice signs of dreaming, you are more likely to notice them. If you expect to become lucid, you are more likely to become lucid. This expectation effect is powerful. It is related to the placebo effect, the phenomenon in which expectations about a treatment affect the actual response to the treatment. In the case of lucid dreaming, the expectation that you will become lucid actually increases the likelihood that you will become lucid. The technique of intention setting can be done in many different ways. Some people prefer to set their intention through spoken affirmation. They speak aloud just before sleep. "I will have a lucid dream tonight." They hear their own voice speaking the words. This engages the auditory cortex, the language production areas, and creates a multi-sensory encoding of the intention. Other people prefer to visualize their intention. They close their eyes and visualize themselves becoming lucid in a dream. They imagine the moment of recognition, the moment when they realize they are dreaming. This visualization engages the visual cortex and the motor cortex, creating a kind of mental rehearsal of the experience they are intending to have. Some people prefer to write their intention. They write in their dream journal before sleep, "Tonight I will become lucid." They might write it multiple times. This writing engages the motor cortex and the language regions, creating a strong encoding of the intention. Some people prefer to combine multiple approaches. They might write their intention, then speak it aloud, then visualize it. This multimodal approach creates a richer, more complete encoding of the intention in the brain. The timing of intention setting is important. The best time to set an intention for lucid dreaming is just before sleep, when your mind is beginning to shift into sleep mode but is not yet fully asleep. At this point, your consciousness is still active, your prefrontal cortex is still engaged. You can consciously form the intention, but your mind is also becoming more receptive to subtle suggestions, more open to the influence of intention. You are in a kind of hypnagogic state, hovering at the threshold between waking and sleeping. This is the ideal time to set an intention. Some lucid dreamers also set their intention at other times of day. They might set an intention in the morning, just after waking. They might set an intention during meditation. They might set an intention multiple times throughout the day. The more times you set the intention, the stronger it becomes. The more you activate the neural networks associated with the intention, the more likely it is that these networks will activate spontaneously during sleep. The content of the intention matters as well. Some research suggests that more specific intentions are more effective than vague intentions. Instead of setting an intention to have a lucid dream, you might set an intention to recognize the signs of dreaming and become lucid. Instead of "I will fly," you might set an intention to "I will fly and feel the sensation of wind on my face." The specificity of the intention creates a clearer neural representation. It gives your brain more specific information about what you are trying to achieve. However, it is also important that the intention is not too rigid, not too demanding. If you set an intention that is too ambitious, If you create too much pressure around the intention, you might actually interfere with the process. The brain works best when there is a balance between intention and relaxation, between goal-directed effort and receptive openness. The ideal approach is to set the intention clearly, with genuine desire, but without anxiety or desperation. You are stating what you want to happen. You are not forcing it to happen. You are creating the conditions for it to happen, and then you are releasing the outcome to the natural processes of your brain and your dreams. The neuroplasticity implications of repeated intention setting are significant. Every time you set an intention, you are strengthening the neural networks associated with that intention. You are creating new synaptic connections. You are reinforcing existing connections. Over time, with repeated intention setting, these neural networks become more robust. They become more easily activated. They become more likely to influence your behavior and your experience. This is neuroplasticity in action. This is the brain's capacity to reshape itself in response to repeated mental practices. As you set intentions for lucid dreaming, you are not just hoping that something will happen. You are actively reshaping your brain. You are creating neural pathways that will make lucidity more likely. You are priming your brain to notice signs of dreaming. You are setting up the conditions for lucidity to emerge. And the more consistently you do this, the more powerful the effect becomes. Over weeks and months of consistent intention setting, your brain will gradually shift. Your relationship to your dreams will change. Your likelihood of having lucid dreams will increase. The intention that you have set will begin to manifest in your experience. The wake back to bed technique. There is a technique that lucid dreamers have discovered, refined and validated through both personal experience and scientific research. It is simple in concept, yet powerful in effect. It is called the wake back to bed technique, or WBTB technique. The principle is straightforward. You deliberately interrupt your sleep, stay awake for a brief period, and then return to sleep. This interruption and return creates a state that is highly conducive to lucid dreaming. The neurological basis of this technique lies in the architecture of sleep. Throughout the night, your brain cycles through different sleep stages. Each complete cycle lasts approximately 90 minutes. In the early cycles of the night, NREM sleep dominates. REM sleep is brief, lasting only a few minutes. But as the night progresses, the proportion of REM sleep increases. In the final cycles of the night, REM sleep can last 30 to 40 minutes or more. This is why the latter part of the night is the most fertile ground for lucid dreaming. Your brain spends more time in REM sleep. You have more opportunities for lucidity to occur. When you interrupt your sleep with the WBTB technique, you are typically doing so during one of these later cycles. You might set an alarm to wake you after 5 or 6 hours of sleep. You wake up. You are conscious. You might get out of bed. You might go to the bathroom. You might drink some water. You might read something. You might practice reality checks. You stay awake for a brief period, perhaps 5 to 30 minutes. Then you return to bed with the intention to have a lucid dream. What happens neurologically when you return to sleep after this deliberate interruption? Your brain does not simply resume where it left off. Instead, something different happens. When you return to sleep, your brain tends to enter REM sleep more quickly than it normally would. This phenomenon is called REM rebound. After the interruption, your brain is primed for REM sleep. It enters REM sleep rapidly. And when your brain enters REM sleep in this particular state, when it has been recently active and conscious, the conditions for lucidity are ideal. The reason for this REM rebound is not entirely clear, but one theory is that your brain has a certain amount of REM sleep that it needs each night. REM sleep is crucial for memory consolidation, for emotional processing, for various aspects of brain maintenance. If you interrupt REM sleep, your brain will try to make up for the lost REM sleep. When you return to sleep, your brain prioritizes REM sleep. It enters REM sleep quickly and spends more time in REM sleep than it normally would. Now here is where it becomes interesting for lucid dreaming. As you return to sleep after the deliberate interruption, your brain is in a particular state. You have been conscious recently. Your prefrontal cortex has been active recently. You have been thinking, reflecting, perhaps setting intentions or performing reality checks. This recent conscious activity leaves traces in your brain. The neural networks associated with consciousness with reflection, with metacognition, are still somewhat active. They have not yet fully quieted down. When you return to sleep and enter REM sleep, these networks can remain partially active. They can maintain a level of engagement even as the rest of your brain enters the dream state. This partial activation of the consciousness networks, combined with the immersion in REM sleep, creates the ideal conditions for lucidity. The technique works best if you use the time that you are awake strategically. If you simply wake up and lie there, trying to fall back asleep, the effect is less pronounced. But if you use the time awake to do something that activates your consciousness, that engages your reflective abilities, that sets intentions for lucidity, then the effect is much more pronounced. This is why many lucid dreamers, when they use the WBTB technique, will read about lucid dreaming, or review their dream journal, or practice reality checks, or engage in meditation. These activities keep their consciousness engaged while they are awake. These activities strengthen the neural networks associated with consciousness and reflection, and when they return to sleep, these networks remain somewhat active, creating the ideal conditions for lucidity. Some lucid dreamers use a variation of this technique. Instead of setting an alarm to wake them, they use natural awakenings. They notice that they tend to wake naturally after about 5 hours of sleep. They take advantage of this natural awakening. They stay awake for a brief period, then return to sleep. This variation respects the body's natural sleep rhythms. It does not impose an artificial disruption. Some people find that this variation is more effective for them because it works with their natural sleep patterns rather than against them. Another variation involves the use of light. When you wake during the WBTB technique, you might expose yourself to light. This light exposure can help to fully activate your consciousness. It can help to clear away the residual sleepiness. Light stimulates the visual cortex and also affects the circadian system, the system that regulates sleep-wake cycles. Exposure to light during the WBTB period can enhance the activation of consciousness, making it more likely that when you return to sleep and enter REM sleep, your reflective consciousness will remain partially active. The duration of the WBTB period is important. If you stay awake too long, you might have difficulty falling back asleep. You might become too alert, too engaged with the waking world. On the other hand, if you stay awake for too short a time, the effect might not be as pronounced. Most lucid dreamers find that the optimal duration is somewhere between 5 and 30 minutes. Some prefer shorter periods, around 5 to 10 minutes. Others prefer longer periods, around 20 to 30 minutes. The optimal duration varies from person to person. It depends on individual differences in how quickly you fall asleep, how easily you can transition back to sleep, how much time you need to feel fully conscious. The activities that you engage in during the WBTB period also matter. Some lucid dreamers prefer to do something physical, like getting out of bed and walking around. This physical activity fully activates the body and the motor cortex. Other lucid dreamers prefer to do something mental, like reading or thinking. This mental activity activates the cognitive regions. Some prefer to do something that combines both, like practicing reality checks. The key is that the activity should engage your consciousness, should activate your brain, without being so engaging that you become too alert to fall back asleep. The WBTB technique is particularly effective when combined with other techniques. For instance, you might combine it with intention setting. During the WBTB period, you set a clear intention to have a lucid dream. Then you return to sleep with this intention still active in your mind. You might combine it with reality checking. During the WBTB period, you perform several reality checks. You establish the habit more strongly. Then, when you return to sleep and enter a dream, the habit is more likely to manifest, and you are more likely to perform a reality check in the dream and notice that it produces an unexpected result, triggering lucidity. The WBTB technique also reveals something important about the nature of sleep. Sleep is not a simple on-off switch. It is not a matter of being asleep or awake. Rather, sleep and wakefulness exist on a spectrum. Different brain regions can be in different states of sleep-wakefulness. You can be physically asleep, while some parts of your brain are more awake than they normally would be during sleep. This is what happens during lucid dreaming. This is what the WBTB technique facilitates. By deliberately interrupting sleep and then returning to it, you are creating a state where some parts of your brain are more awake than they normally would be during sleep, while the rest of your brain is in the dream state. This unique combination of states is what creates lucidity. The WBTB technique is also valuable because it is natural. You are not using any external devices. You are not using any drugs or medications. You are simply using the natural properties of your brain's sleep system. You are using the brain's tendency to enter REM sleep more readily after an interruption. You are using the brain's ability to maintain different levels of consciousness in different regions. You are working with your brain's natural tendencies rather than against them. For people who are beginning to explore lucid dreaming, the WBTB technique is often one of the most effective techniques. It is relatively simple to do. It does not require extensive practice or training. It works with your brain's natural sleep patterns, and it is highly effective. Many people who have never had a lucid dream before find that their first lucid dream occurs while using the WBTB technique. This success can be very motivating. It can create confidence that lucid dreaming is indeed possible, that it is not just a fantasy or a wish, but something real and achievable. Sound, light, and neural stimulation. The boundary between your sleeping brain and the external world is not as solid as it might seem. Even while you sleep, even while your consciousness is turned inward toward dreams, your brain is still receiving information from the external world. Sounds reach your ears, light enters your eyes, your skin senses temperature and pressure. Your brain processes all of this information, and here is the remarkable part. This external information can be used to influence your brain's activity during sleep. It can be used to nudge your brain toward lucidity without waking you up. The technique of using external stimuli to influence sleep and dreaming is called external cueing. It involves the use of sounds, lights, or other stimuli that are presented at strategic moments during sleep. The stimuli are designed to be subtle enough that they do not wake you up, but strong enough that they influence your brain's activity. When used correctly, external cueing can increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming. One form of external cueing uses sound. Binaural beats are a particular type of sound stimulation that has been studied for its effects on brain activity. Binaural beats are created by presenting two slightly different frequencies to each ear. For instance, you might hear a tone of 400 Hz in one ear and 410 Hz in the other ear. Your brain perceives the difference between these two frequencies, and this difference, called the binaural beat frequency, is 10 Hz. Research suggests that exposure to binaural beats can influence your brain's activity. Specifically, binaural beats at certain frequencies can encourage the brain to produce brainwaves at those same frequencies. Brainwaves are categorized by their frequency. Delta waves are the slowest, around 1 to 4 Hz. They are characteristic of deep, dreamless sleep. Theta waves are around 4 to 8 Hz. They are characteristic of light sleep and meditation. Alpha waves are around 8 to 12 Hz. They are characteristic of relaxed wakefulness. Beta waves are around 12 to 30 Hz. They are characteristic of active waking consciousness. Gamma waves are above 30 Hz. They are associated with high-level cognitive processing. During REM sleep, your brain produces a mixture of theta and beta waves. The presence of beta waves during REM sleep is one of the reasons why REM sleep is sometimes called paradoxical sleep. Your brain looks awake, but you are asleep. This combination of theta and beta waves is thought to be conducive to lucid dreaming. Some research suggests that binaural beats at frequencies that encourage theta-beta oscillations can increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming. However, the research on binaural beats and lucid dreaming is mixed. Some studies show a positive effect, others show minimal effect. The variation in results may be due to differences in study design, differences in the specific frequencies used, differences in individual responsiveness to binaural beats. Some people find binaural beats very effective for lucid dreaming. Others find them less effective. The key is to experiment and see what works for you. Another form of external cueing uses light. Red light exposure, in particular, has been studied for its effects on sleep and lucid dreaming. Red light is less disruptive to sleep than other wavelengths of light. It is less likely to suppress melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Yet it is still visible. It can still influence your brain's visual processing. Some research suggests that exposure to red light during the WBTB period, or exposure to intermittent red light during REM sleep, can increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming. The mechanism is not entirely clear, but one theory is that red light can subtly influence your brain without fully waking you. If red light is presented at the right time, during REM sleep, it might trigger a kind of awareness of the visual field without triggering a full awakening. You become aware that there is light, but you do not fully wake up. This subtle awareness can serve as a cue for lucidity. It can alert your dreaming brain to the fact that something is different, something is not quite right. And this alert can trigger the question, could I be dreaming? And the answer often is yes. Some lucid dreamers use specialized devices that combine sound and light stimulation. These devices are typically worn on the head or on the wrist. They monitor your sleep using sensors, such as accelerometers that detect eye movements. When the device detects that you are in REM sleep, it delivers stimulation such as light flashes or sounds. This stimulation is designed to trigger lucidity without waking you up. The research on these devices shows mixed results. Some studies show that they can increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming. Other studies show more modest effects. Again, the variation may be due to individual differences in responsiveness, differences in device quality, differences in how the device is used. Some people find these devices very helpful. Others find them less effective. Some people find that they initially help, but with repeated use, they become less effective as the brain habituates to the stimulation. Beyond sound and light, there are other forms of external stimulation that have been explored. Electrical stimulation of the brain has been studied in research settings. In one study, researchers applied a weak electrical current to the scalp, targeting the anterior prefrontal cortex, the region most associated with metacognitive awareness and lucidity. They applied this stimulation during REM sleep and found that it increased the likelihood of lucid dreaming. However, this type of stimulation requires specialized equipment and is not something that most people can do at home. Tactile stimulation, such as vibrations, has also been explored. Some devices use vibrations to deliver stimulation during REM sleep. The theory is similar to light and sound stimulation. The vibrations are subtle enough not to wake you up, but they are strong enough to influence your brain's activity during the dream. Again, the research shows mixed results. Some people find vibration-based devices helpful for lucid dreaming. Others find them less effective. It is important to approach external cueing with realistic expectations. These techniques are not magic. They do not guarantee that you will have a lucid dream. They are tools that can increase the likelihood of lucid dreaming, but they work best when combined with other techniques. They work best when you have already been practicing other techniques, such as reality checking, dream journaling, and intention setting. The external stimulation is like a gentle nudge, a reminder, a signal, but your brain has to be primed to receive that signal. Your brain has to be already oriented toward lucidity. The external stimulation simply makes it more likely that lucidity will emerge. Another important consideration is the potential for disturbance. If the external stimulation is too strong, if it is presented at the wrong time, it can wake you up. It can interrupt your sleep. This is counterproductive. The goal is to influence your brain without disrupting sleep. This requires careful calibration of the intensity and timing of the stimulation. The most important thing to remember about external cueing is that it is optional. It is not necessary for lucid dreaming. Many people achieve lucid dreaming without any external devices or stimulation. They achieve it through practice, intention, and the techniques we have already discussed. External cueing is simply an additional tool that some people find helpful. If you have access to devices that provide external cueing, you can experiment with them, but do not feel that you need them. Lucid dreaming is achievable through your own mental practices alone. The creative mind unleashed. Within the landscape of a lucid dream, something extraordinary happens to your mind. The constraints that normally govern your thinking are loosened. The rules that normally apply are suspended. Your brain is free to explore possibilities, to make connections, to generate ideas that might never emerge in the constraints of waking life. This freedom has profound implications for creativity and problem solving. During ordinary waking consciousness, your thinking is constrained by several factors. First, there is the constraint of logic. You are constantly checking your ideas against what you know to be true about the world. Does this idea make sense? Is it consistent with reality? Is it logically sound? These checks are valuable in many contexts. They keep you from making mistakes. They keep you grounded in reality. But they also limit your thinking. They prevent you from exploring possibilities that seem illogical or impossible. Second, there is the constraint of social convention. You are aware of how others might perceive your ideas. You are aware of what is socially acceptable. You are aware of what fits within the norms of your culture and your community. This awareness shapes your thinking. It makes you less likely to generate ideas that might be seen as strange or unconventional. Third, there is the constraint of fear. You might be afraid of failure. You might be afraid of looking foolish. You might be afraid of making a mistake. These fears can inhibit your thinking. They can make you less willing to take risks, to explore novel possibilities, to venture into unknown territory. During a lucid dream, all of these constraints are relaxed. Logic is suspended. The impossible becomes possible. You can defy gravity. You can transform objects. You can travel instantaneously to any location. Social conventions do not apply. There is no one to judge you. There is no social norm to conform to. It is just you and the dream is your creation. Fear is diminished. There is nothing to fear in the dream. You cannot be hurt. You cannot fail in any real sense. It is all a dream. With these constraints removed, your mind is free to explore. Your mind is free to make unusual connections. Your mind is free to generate novel ideas. This freedom has been harnessed by many creative people throughout history. Artists, scientists, writers, and inventors have used dreams, including lucid dreams, as sources of inspiration and creativity. The neuroscience of creativity during lucid dreaming involves the activity of the default mode network. The default mode network is a set of brain regions that are active when you are not focused on the external world, when your mind is wandering, when you are engaged in internal reflection. The default mode network includes the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus. During waking creativity, the default mode network is active. You are letting your mind wander. You are making associations. You are generating ideas. During REM sleep, including lucid dreaming, the default mode network is also very active. In fact, the default mode network is even more active during REM sleep than during waking rest. This heightened activity of the default mode network during REM sleep is one of the reasons why dreams are so creative, why dreams generate such novel associations and ideas. During a lucid dream, you have the heightened activity of the default mode network combined with the reflective awareness of the prefrontal cortex. This combination is ideal for creative thinking. Some of the most famous examples of creative breakthroughs that came from dreams involve both lucid and non-lucid dreams. The chemist Auguste Kekule discovered the ring structure of benzene after a dream. The physicist Niels Bohr developed insights about atomic structure after dreams. The inventor Elias Howe came up with the design for the needle in a sewing machine after a dream. These examples suggest that the dreaming mind is particularly good at solving certain types of problems. What kinds of problems are the dreaming mind particularly good at solving? Research suggests that the dreaming mind is particularly good at problems that require creative insight, that require the ability to see something in a new way, that require the ability to make unusual connections between disparate ideas. The dreaming mind is good at these problems because the brain regions that are active during dreaming are the same regions that are active during creative thinking. The loosening of constraints, the suspension of logic, the freedom to make unusual associations, all of these create an ideal environment for the kind of thinking that leads to creative breakthroughs. But there is an additional advantage of lucid dreaming for creativity. In a non-lucid dream, you are passively receiving the dream. The dream is happening to you. You are not consciously directing it. In a lucid dream, you are actively engaged with the dream. You can deliberately guide your thinking. You can deliberately explore a problem. You can deliberately ask your dreaming mind a question and then observe what answers emerge. For instance, imagine that you are a writer struggling with how to develop a character in your story. You could use a lucid dream to work on this problem. You could become lucid in a dream, set the intention to meet your character, and then observe what emerges. You might find that the character appears in the dream, And you can interact with the character, ask the character questions, observe the character's responses. This interaction can provide insights into the character that you might not have generated through conscious thinking alone. Or imagine that you are a scientist trying to understand a complex phenomenon. You could use a lucid dream to visualize the phenomenon. You could imagine the phenomenon in the dream, manipulate it, transform it, and observe what happens. This kind of visualization and manipulation can lead to insights that might not emerge from purely logical analysis. Or imagine that you are an artist looking for inspiration. You could use a lucid dream to explore visual possibilities. You could create visual scenes in the dream, transform them, combine them, and observe the results. This kind of visual exploration can generate ideas for artworks. The key is that in a lucid dream, you are not constrained by the normal rules of reality. You can test ideas in a consequence-free environment. You can explore possibilities that might seem too risky or too unconventional to explore in waking life. You can make mistakes, and the mistakes do not matter. You can fail, and the failure is not real. This freedom to explore without fear of real consequences is incredibly valuable for creative thinking. Some lucid dreamers report that their most creative insights have come from lucid dreams. They report that they have solved problems in lucid dreams that they had been unable to solve while awake. They report that they have generated ideas in lucid dreams that they have then successfully implemented in waking life. They report that lucid dreaming has enhanced their creative abilities overall, not just during the dreams themselves, but in their waking creative work as well. The reason for this enhancement might be that lucid dreaming practice strengthens the neural networks involved in creative thinking. It strengthens the default mode network. It increases the connectivity between different brain regions. It makes it easier for your brain to make unusual associations, to generate novel ideas, to see things from new perspectives. These enhanced abilities carry over into waking life. You become a more creative person overall. Furthermore, the insights and ideas that emerge from lucid dreams can be brought back to waking life. You can remember them. You can write them down. You can develop them further. You can implement them. And the lucid dream is not just a place for play and exploration. It is also a source of genuine creative material that can enhance your waking life and your work. Emotional mastery in the dream. Realm emotions are powerful. They shape our thoughts. They shape our behaviors. They shape our experiences. In waking life, emotions can sometimes overwhelm us. We can find ourselves caught in emotional patterns that seem difficult to change. We can find ourselves reacting emotionally in ways that we wish we could change. We can find ourselves struggling with fears, anxieties, or negative emotional patterns that seem intractable. But in a lucid dream, emotions can be transformed. In a lucid dream, you have a unique opportunity to work with your emotions in a way that is not possible in waking life. You have the ability to face your fears without real danger. You have the ability to practice emotional responses without real consequences. You have the ability to rewire your emotional patterns through controlled practice. The neuroscience of emotion involves several brain regions. The amygdala is the central hub of emotional processing. It detects emotionally significant stimuli. It generates emotional responses. It is particularly important in the processing of fear. The prefrontal cortex, particularly the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, is involved in the regulation of emotion. It can modulate the amygdala's response. It can suppress or enhance emotional reactions. The anterior cingulate cortex is involved in monitoring emotional conflict and in the regulation of emotional responses. During ordinary dreaming, the amygdala is highly active, while the ventromedial prefrontal cortex is relatively quiet. This is why dreams can be emotionally intense. The emotional generation system is active, while the emotional regulation system is quieter. You are feeling emotions intensely, but you have limited ability to regulate those emotions. During a lucid dream, something different happens. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex becomes more active. The emotional regulation system becomes more engaged. You gain some ability to regulate your emotions while remaining immersed in the emotional experience of the dream. This combination is powerful. You can feel emotions, but you can also observe them and manage them. This capacity for emotional regulation in lucid dreams has been harnessed by some therapists and researchers as a tool for treating emotional disorders. People with anxiety disorders, people with post-traumatic stress disorder, people with phobias have been taught to use lucid dreaming as a way to confront their fears in a safe environment. For instance, imagine someone with a fear of heights. In a lucid dream, they could become lucid and then deliberately create a scenario in which they are in a high place. They can observe their fear response. They can practice staying calm in the presence of the fear stimulus. They can practice moving despite the fear. They can practice the emotional response they want to have in waking life. Because it is a dream, there is no real danger. There is no real risk. But the brain is practicing the emotional response. The brain is learning to associate heights with calm rather than with fear. Or imagine someone with social anxiety. In a lucid dream, they could become lucid and then create a scenario in which they are in a social situation. They can practice social interactions. They can practice speaking in front of others. They can practice the confidence they want to have in waking social situations. The dream provides a safe laboratory for practicing these emotional and behavioral responses. The mechanism by which this practice translates to waking life involves memory consolidation and neural plasticity. During sleep, memories are consolidated. Experiences from the day are processed and integrated into long-term memory. When you practice an emotional response in a lucid dream, this practice is being consolidated during sleep. The neural pathways associated with the new emotional response are being strengthened. Over time, with repeated practice, the new emotional response becomes more likely to occur in waking life. This process is similar to the process of exposure therapy, a well-established psychological treatment for anxiety disorders and phobias. In exposure therapy, a person repeatedly exposes themselves to the feared stimulus in a controlled and safe way until the fear response is reduced. The repeated exposure leads to a process called extinction learning, in which the association between the stimulus and the fear response is weakened. Lucid dreaming can serve a similar function. The repeated practice of facing the fear in a lucid dream can lead to extinction learning. The association between the fear stimulus and the fear response is weakened. But lucid dreaming has some advantages over waking exposure therapy. In a lucid dream, you can create any scenario you want. You can gradually increase the intensity of the fear stimulus. You can practice in a completely safe environment. There is no risk of real harm. There is no risk of real failure. This can make it easier to practice facing the fear. Beyond working with fears and anxieties, lucid dreaming can be used to work with other emotional patterns. You can practice emotional responses that you want to develop. You can practice compassion. You can practice courage. You can practice calm in the face of challenges. You can practice any emotional response that you want to strengthen. Some lucid dreamers report that they have used lucid dreaming to work through grief. They have created scenarios in which they could say goodbye to a loved one, or in which they could communicate with a loved one. They report that these experiences have been emotionally healing, that they have helped them to process their grief. Others report that they have used lucid dreaming to work through anger. They have created scenarios in which they could confront someone who had wronged them, in which they could express their anger in a controlled way, in which they could practice forgiveness. They report that these experiences have helped them to move beyond the anger, to release resentment. Still others report that they have used lucid dreaming to cultivate positive emotions. They have created scenarios of joy, of peace, of connection. They have practiced feeling these emotions in the dream. They report that with repeated practice, these positive emotional states become more accessible in waking life as well. The emotional learning that occurs in lucid dreams is real learning. It is not just imagination. It is not just fantasy. The brain is genuinely learning. The neural pathways are genuinely being modified. The emotional patterns are genuinely being changed. This is why lucid dreaming can be such a powerful tool for emotional growth and emotional healing. One important note is that while lucid dreaming can be a valuable tool for emotional work, it is not a substitute for professional mental health treatment. For serious emotional disorders, for trauma, for severe anxiety or depression, it is important to work with a qualified mental health professional. Lucid dreaming can be a complementary tool, something to use alongside professional treatment, but it should not replace professional help. However, for people who are interested in emotional growth, for people who want to work with their emotional patterns in a deeper way, lucid dreaming offers a unique opportunity. It offers a space where you can explore your emotions, where you can practice new emotional responses, where you can gradually rewire your emotional patterns. It offers a kind of emotional laboratory, a consequence-free space where you can experiment with who you want to be emotionally. The physics of dream flight. There is an experience that many lucid dreamers report, an experience that seems to defy the laws of physics. It is the experience of flying. In a lucid dream, you can leave the ground, you can rise into the air, you can soar through the sky, you can move through space with freedom and grace. It feels completely real. You feel the wind on your face, you feel the movement through space, you feel the exhilaration of flight, yet you are asleep in your bed, your body still and safe. How does your brain generate this experience of flight? How does it create the sensation of movement through space, the sensation of wind, the visual experience of the landscape moving beneath you? The answer lies in understanding how your brain normally generates the sense of movement and the sense of your body in space. During waking consciousness, your sense of movement comes from multiple sources. Your visual system generates images of the world moving past you. Your vestibular system, located in your inner ear, generates signals about your body's acceleration and orientation. Your proprioceptive system, which involves receptors throughout your body, generates signals about where your body is and how it is oriented. Your motor cortex generates signals as you contract muscles to move. All of these signals are integrated by your brain to create a coherent sense of movement. During a dream, your visual system is generating images internally, not from external stimuli. These images can show movement. They can show the landscape moving past you. Your motor cortex can generate signals as if you are moving, even though your muscles are paralyzed and not actually contracting. Your proprioceptive system continues to generate signals about your body's position, even though your body is not actually moving. Your brain integrates all of these signals to create a sense of movement. During a lucid dream of flying, your brain is generating a particularly sophisticated simulation. Your visual cortex is generating images of the landscape far below you. These images are consistent with the experience of being high in the air. Your motor cortex is generating signals as if you are moving your arms or your body in the way needed to fly. Your proprioceptive system is generating signals that place your body in a position of being in the air. Your vestibular system might be generating signals consistent with acceleration and movement. All of these signals are being integrated by your brain to create a convincing simulation of flight. The remarkable thing is that your brain can generate these signals without external input. Your brain does not need actual visual input from a high altitude. It does not need actual vestibular input from acceleration. It does not need actual motor output from muscle contractions. It can generate the signals internally, and these internally generated signals create a sense of movement and flight that feels as real as actual movement. This internal generation of movement sensation is related to the concept of motor imagery. Motor imagery is the mental simulation of movement without actual movement. When you imagine picking up a cup, your motor cortex generates signals similar to the signals it would generate if you were actually picking up a cup, but without the signals that would cause muscle contraction. This motor imagery is not perfect. It is not identical to actual movement, but it is similar enough that it can activate many of the same neural networks as actual movement. During flight in a lucid dream, motor imagery is combined with visual imagery and with the sense of embodiment. Your brain is generating the visual imagery of flying. It is generating the motor imagery of the movements needed for flight. It is generating the sense of your body being in the air. All of these elements combine to create the experience of flight. The experience of flight in lucid dreams reveals something interesting about the nature of reality and perception. In waking life, you assume that your perceptions are accurate reflections of external reality. You see something, and you assume that it is really there. You feel movement, and you assume that you are really moving. But in a lucid dream, you can have these same perceptions without the corresponding external reality. You can see yourself flying without actually flying. You can feel yourself moving without actually moving. This reveals that perception is not a direct reflection of external reality. Perception is a construction, a simulation created by your brain based on the signals it receives and the models it has of how the world works. In waking life, the signals your brain receives come primarily from external sources. They come from the light entering your eyes, from the sounds entering your ears, from the sensations on your skin. But your brain also uses internal models, learned patterns about how the world works, to interpret these signals and to predict what should happen next. In a dream, the signals come primarily from internal sources, from the activity of your brain itself. But your brain still uses the same processes to interpret these signals and to construct a sense of reality. Some lucid dreamers report that flying in lucid dreams can feel more real than waking reality. They report that the sensations are more vivid, more intense, more emotionally powerful than waking sensations. They report that the experience of flight in a lucid dream is more emotionally exhilarating than any waking experience of movement. This intensity and vividness might be due to the heightened activity of the emotional and sensory regions of the brain during REM sleep. The experience of flight in lucid dreams also has physical correlates in brain activity. When lucid dreamers report flying in their lucid dreams, their brains show activity in the visual cortex, as expected. But they also show activity in regions associated with motion perception, in regions associated with the sense of balance and orientation, in regions associated with the sense of the body in space. These regions are generating the signals that create the experience of flight. Interestingly, lucid dreamers report that the sensation of flying in lucid dreams can improve with practice. Some lucid dreamers report that in their early lucid dreams, flight feels clumsy or uncontrolled. But with practice, they learn to fly more smoothly, more gracefully, more with a sense of control and mastery. This improvement might be due to neural learning. With repeated practice of flying in lucid dreams, the neural networks involved in generating the motor imagery and the sense of movement are strengthened. The simulation becomes more refined, more smooth, more realistic. This improvement with practice reveals that lucid dreaming is not just a passive experience. It is something that can be learned and developed. You can become better at lucid dreaming. You can become better at maintaining lucidity. You can become better at controlling and directing your lucid dreams. You can become better at flying, at moving, at manipulating the dream environment. The experience of flight in lucid dreams has been reported across cultures and throughout history. Ancient texts describe flying in dreams. Modern lucid dreamers report the same experience. The universality of this experience suggests that it is something fundamental to how the human brain works, something that emerges naturally when the brain is in the state of REM sleep, with the added awareness of lucidity. Meeting the dream self. Within the landscape of a lucid dream, you might encounter another being. This being might look like you. It might look like someone else. It might not look human at all. But there is something about this being that feels familiar, that feels like it is part of you. This is one of the most profound and mysterious experiences that lucid dreamers report, meeting the dream self, or meeting other aspects of consciousness within the dream. Who or what is this being that appears in your lucid dream? Is it another person? Is it a figment of your imagination? Is it a deeper part of your own mind? The answer is complex and touches on fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness and identity. From a neurological perspective, this dream character is generated by your brain. It is a simulation, a creation of your neural activity. The visual cortex is generating the image. The motor cortex is generating the movements and behaviors of the character. Other regions of your brain are generating the voice, the personality, the behaviors of the character. So in one sense, the dream character is you. It is a product of your brain, generated by your neural activity. But from a psychological perspective, the dream character might represent something different. It might represent a part of yourself that you are not usually conscious of. It might represent your unconscious mind or aspects of your psyche that are not easily accessible to your conscious awareness. When you encounter this character in a lucid dream, you might be encountering a part of yourself that has its own perspective, its own thoughts, its own opinions. This idea has roots in the psychological theories of Carl Jung, who suggested that different aspects of the psyche can be represented as different characters in dreams. Jung proposed the concept of the shadow, the aspects of yourself that you are not conscious of, that you repress or deny. In a dream, the shadow might appear as a separate character with its own personality and perspective. Jung also proposed the concept of the anima, in men and the animus in women, which represent the contrasexual aspects of the psyche, the feminine aspects in men, and the masculine aspects in women. These might also appear as dream characters. In a lucid dream, when you encounter such a character, you have the opportunity to communicate with it. You can ask it questions. You can listen to its perspective. You can gain insight into aspects of your own psyche that you might not be consciously aware of. Some lucid dreamers report that these conversations with dream characters have been profoundly meaningful. They report that they have learned things about themselves, that they have gained insights into their own motivations and fears, that they have integrated aspects of their psyche that were previously fragmented or repressed. The mechanism by which this works is related to the distributed nature of consciousness. Your brain is not a single, unified entity. It is a collection of different systems, different networks, different regions. These different systems normally work together in a coordinated way to create a unified sense of self, but they can also work independently. In a lucid dream, different aspects of your brain's processing can generate different characters, different perspectives. When you interact with these characters, you're essentially having different parts of your brain communicate with each other through the medium of the dream. This is not the same as having multiple personalities or a dissociative disorder. In those conditions, the separation between different personalities is involuntary and problematic. In a lucid dream, the separation is intentional and it is contained within the dream. You are choosing to interact with different aspects of your consciousness. You are maintaining overall awareness that you are dreaming. You are not confused about which aspects are you and which are separate. Some lucid dreamers report that they have asked their dream characters existential questions. Who are you? What are you? What is your purpose? The responses that they receive are often surprising. Some characters claim to be representations of the dreamer's unconscious mind. Some claim to be guides or teachers. Some claim to be aspects of the dreamer's potential, aspects of who the dreamer could become. Some claim to be something else entirely, something that does not fit neatly into the dreamer's categories of understanding. The philosophical implications of these encounters are profound. They raise questions about the nature of identity. If you can meet another being in a lucid dream that seems to have its own thoughts and perspectives, and if that being is generated by your brain, then what is the nature of that being? Is it truly separate from you, or is it a manifestation of your own consciousness? What does this reveal about the nature of the self? Some philosophers and contemplatives have suggested that the self is not as unified or as fixed as we normally assume. They suggest that the self is a collection of different processes, different perspectives, different aspects of consciousness, all of which normally work together to create the impression of a unified self. But in certain states, such as lucid dreaming, these different aspects can be experienced separately. The lucid dream reveals the underlying multiplicity of consciousness. This perspective has parallels in some spiritual traditions. In Tibetan Buddhism, for instance, there is a practice called dream yoga, in which practitioners deliberately cultivate lucid dreaming and use lucid dreams for spiritual practice. In dream yoga, practitioners might deliberately summon different beings or deities within the lucid dream. From a Buddhist perspective, these beings are manifestations of different aspects of the mind. By interacting with them, the practitioner is learning about the nature of mind and consciousness. Similarly, in some shamanic traditions, lucid dreaming is used as a way to communicate with spirits or guides. From a shamanic perspective, these beings are real entities that exist in a non-physical reality. From a neuroscientific perspective, these beings are manifestations of the dreamer's own consciousness. Both perspectives might be true in different ways. The beings are real in the sense that they are genuine experiences, genuine aspects of consciousness, but they are not external to the dreamer. They are internal manifestations. The experience of meeting the dream self can be transformative. It can lead to greater self-knowledge. It can lead to integration of previously fragmented aspects of the psyche. It can lead to a sense of wholeness and coherence. It can lead to a different understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. Many lucid dreamers report that encounters with the dream self have been among the most meaningful experiences of their lives. Integration and waking wisdom. The dream ends. You wake up. The lucid dream fades. You are back in the waking world. The vividness of the dream begins to fade. the details begin to slip away. Within minutes, the dream is largely forgotten, yet something remains. Something has shifted, something has changed within you. This is the process of integration. This is the process by which the experiences and insights from lucid dreams are brought into waking consciousness, integrated into your understanding of yourself and your world. This process is crucial. Without integration, lucid dreaming remains isolated from waking life. It becomes merely a fascinating experience that happens at night, separate from your waking existence. But with integration, lucid dreaming becomes a source of wisdom, a source of transformation that affects your waking life. The neuroscience of integration involves memory consolidation and the transfer of information between different brain states. During sleep, memories are consolidated. Information is transferred from short-term memory to long-term storage. The hippocampus plays a crucial role in this process. The hippocampus receives information during the day and during dreams. It processes this information. It helps to integrate it with existing memories and knowledge. Over time, the information becomes consolidated in the cortex, in the regions responsible for long-term storage and retrieval. When you have a lucid dream, the experiences of the lucid dream are being processed by the hippocampus just like any other dream. The experiences are being consolidated into memory. But because you have been conscious during the lucid dream, because you have been aware and engaged, the consolidation process might be different. The memory might be stronger. The details might be more vivid. The emotional significance might be greater. The process of integration begins immediately upon waking. The first step is to remember the lucid dream. This is where the practice of keeping a dream journal becomes crucial. By writing down the lucid dream immediately upon waking, you are consolidating the memory. You are creating a more stable encoding of the dream. You are preventing the dream from fading into forgetfulness. But remembering is just the first step. The next step is reflection. After you have written down the lucid dream, you can reflect on it. You can ask yourself, what happened in the lucid dream? What was I trying to do? What did I learn? What insights did I gain? What emotions did I experience? This reflection engages the prefrontal cortex, the regions involved in analysis and understanding. This reflection helps to extract meaning from the lucid dream experience. As you reflect on the lucid dream, you might notice connections between the lucid dream and your waking life. You might realize that something you did in the lucid dream has relevance to a challenge you are facing while awake. You might realize that an insight you gained in the lucid dream applies to a problem you are trying to solve. You might realize that an emotional experience in the lucid dream relates to something you are working through in waking life. These connections are the beginning of integration. The process of integration can be deepened through further reflection and through discussion with others. You might talk about your lucid dream with friends or with a therapist. You might write about it in more depth. You might meditate on it. You might allow the insights from the lucid dream to percolate through your consciousness over days or weeks. As you do this, the integration deepens. The insights become more refined. The connections to waking life become clearer. Some lucid dreamers report that insights from lucid dreams continue to unfold over time. They report that they have a lucid dream, and at first the meaning is not clear. But as they reflect on it, as they live with the experience, the meaning becomes clearer. New connections emerge. New insights arise. The lucid dream continues to teach them long after the dream itself has faded. The integration of lucid dream insights into waking behavior can lead to real change. If you have practiced a skill in a lucid dream, this practice can translate to improved performance of that skill in waking life. If you have worked through an emotional issue in a lucid dream, this work can lead to emotional healing and growth in waking life. If you have gained an insight in a lucid dream, this insight can guide your behavior and decisions in waking life. This translation of lucid dream experiences into waking life benefits is not automatic. It requires intention. It requires reflection. It requires deliberate effort to apply the insights and lessons from the lucid dream. But when this effort is made, the benefits can be profound. Some lucid dreamers report that their lucid dreaming practice has led to significant changes in their waking life. They report that they have become more creative, more confident, more emotionally balanced. They report that they have solved problems that had seemed intractable. They report that they have overcome fears that had limited them. They report that they have gained insights into their own nature and their own potential. All of these changes have come through the integration of lucid dream experiences into waking life. The integration process also involves a kind of feedback loop. As you apply insights from lucid dreams to your waking life, you change your waking life. These changes then affect your dreams. Your waking experiences are incorporated into your dreams. Your dreams reflect your current concerns, your current challenges, your current growth. As you work with your dreams, as you integrate them, your dreams become richer, more meaningful, more connected to your actual life. This creates a dynamic process in which waking and dreaming are continuously influencing each other. Over time, as you engage in this process of lucid dreaming and integration, the boundary between waking wisdom and dream wisdom becomes less distinct. The insights you gain in lucid dreams inform your waking life. The experiences you have while awake inform your dreams. You begin to see your entire experience, both waking and dreaming, as a continuous flow of consciousness and learning. The night is no longer separate from the day. The dreams are no longer separate from your waking life. They become integrated into a unified whole. This integration is one of the greatest benefits of lucid dreaming practice. It is not just about having interesting experiences in your dreams. It is about allowing those experiences to transform your waking life. It is about allowing your dreams to teach you, to guide you, to help you grow and evolve. It is about recognizing that your dreams are not separate from you, not alien to you, but rather an expression of your own consciousness, your own wisdom, your own potential. The long-term practice. The first lucid dream is often a revelation. It is an experience so profound, so surprising, that it can feel like discovering a new sense, like suddenly gaining access to a new dimension of experience. But this first lucid dream is just the beginning. It is the opening of a door. What lies beyond depends on what you do with this opening. Some people have a lucid dream once and never again. The experience fades into memory. They do not build on it. They do not develop the skill further. For these people, the lucid dream remains an isolated, though memorable experience. But for others, the first lucid dream is the beginning of a practice. It is the beginning of a journey of exploration and development. These people continue to practice. They continue to refine their techniques. They continue to have lucid dreams with increasing frequency and depth. Over months and years, lucid dreaming becomes an integral part of their lives. The neurological basis for this development is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. It is constantly changing in response to experience and practice. Every time you practice a skill, every time you engage in a particular type of thinking, you are strengthening certain neural pathways and potentially weakening others. Over time, with repeated practice, the structure of your brain changes. New connections are formed. Existing connections are strengthened. The efficiency of neural networks is improved. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it is one of the most fundamental properties of the brain. When you engage in lucid dreaming practice, you are engaging your brain in a particular way. You are activating certain neural networks. You are strengthening connections between different brain regions. You are practicing metacognitive awareness. You are practicing the recognition of dream signs. You are practicing the maintenance of consciousness during transitions between sleep and waking. All of this practice leads to changes in your brain. With continued practice, the neural networks involved in lucid dreaming become more robust, more easily activated, more integrated with other brain systems. The result is that lucid dreaming becomes easier over time. If you practice consistently, your frequency of lucid dreams typically increases. Your ability to maintain lucidity improves. Your ability to control and direct your lucid dreams improves. What seemed difficult at first becomes easier. What seemed impossible becomes possible. This improvement typically occurs gradually. In the first weeks or months of practice, you might have occasional lucid dreams, perhaps one every few weeks or every month. But as you continue to practice, the frequency typically increases. After several months of consistent practice, some people report having lucid dreams multiple times per week. After a year or more of practice, some people report having lucid dreams almost every night. The rate of improvement varies from person to person. Some people seem to develop lucid dreaming ability quickly. They might have their first lucid dream within a few weeks of beginning practice. Others develop more slowly. They might practice for months before having their first lucid dream. The variation has to do with individual differences in brain structure, in the ease with which different people form habits, in the ease with which different people recognize patterns in their experience. But regardless of the rate of improvement, the direction is typically the same for people who practice consistently. With practice, lucid dreaming becomes more frequent, more stable, more controllable. This is the power of neuroplasticity. This is how practice changes the brain. As your lucid dreaming practice deepens, the nature of your lucid dreams might change. In early lucid dreams, you might focus on simple things. You might focus on maintaining the lucidity itself, on not waking up, on keeping the dream stable. You might focus on simple actions like flying or transforming objects. But as you practice, as your skill develops, you might begin to explore more subtle and more complex aspects of lucid dreaming. You might begin to work with emotional issues in more depth. You might begin to engage in more sophisticated problem solving. You might begin to explore the philosophical and spiritual dimensions of lucid dreaming. Some long-term lucid dreamers report that their lucid dreams have become increasingly sophisticated and meaningful over years of practice. They report that their lucid dreams now regularly address their real-life challenges and concerns. They report that their lucid dreams provide genuine insights and wisdom. They report that lucid dreaming has become a form of spiritual practice, a way of exploring the nature of consciousness and reality. The long-term practice of lucid dreaming also affects waking consciousness. Some long-term lucid dreamers report that they have become more aware in their waking life. They report that they notice more, they observe more, they reflect more, they question more. They notice more frequently the dreamlike qualities of waking experience. Some report that the boundary between waking and dreaming has become more fluid. Some report that they sometimes experience a kind of lucidity even while awake, a kind of heightened awareness and observation of their own experience. This increased awareness in waking life is likely due to the neuroplasticity effects of lucid dreaming practice. By practicing metacognitive awareness in lucid dreams, you are strengthening the neural networks involved in metacognition. These strengthened networks carry over into waking life. You become more aware, you become more reflective, you notice more. Some long-term lucid dreamers report that their entire relationship to consciousness has changed. They report that they no longer take consciousness for granted. They report that they have a deeper appreciation for the nature of consciousness and how it can shift and change. They report that they have a sense that consciousness is larger and more mysterious than they previously thought. They report that their lucid dreaming practice has been transformative in a deep and fundamental way. The long-term practice of lucid dreaming also reveals something about the nature of skill development and mastery. Lucid dreaming is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed and refined through practice. With consistent practice, you can become skilled at lucid dreaming. You can become skilled at recognizing dream signs. You can become skilled at maintaining lucidity. You can become skilled at controlling and directing your lucid dreams. You can become skilled at using lucid dreams for creativity, for problem solving, for emotional healing, for spiritual exploration. This mastery does not come quickly. It requires patience, it requires consistency. It requires a willingness to practice even when results are not immediately apparent. It requires a willingness to continue practicing even after you have had some lucid dreams, to not be satisfied with occasional lucidity, but to continue developing the skill. But for those who commit to this practice, the rewards are significant. Over years of practice, lucid dreaming can become a rich, meaningful, and transformative part of your life. Amid the infinite night, we have journeyed far together. We have traveled from the threshold between worlds into the deepest territories of consciousness. We have explored the neuroscience of sleep and dreaming. We have learned about the mechanisms of lucidity. We have discovered practical techniques for cultivating lucid dreams. We have explored the creative and emotional potential of lucid dreaming. We have examined how lucid dream experiences can be integrated into waking life, and how consistent practice can transform consciousness itself. Now, as we approach the end of this exploration, we arrive at a place of contemplation and wonder. The night is infinite. Every night you sleep. Every night your brain enters the realm of dreams. Every night, the conditions for lucidity are present within your mind. Throughout your life, night after night, year after year, this process continues. You have spent a significant portion of your life in sleep and in dreams. You will spend a significant portion of your future in sleep and in dreams. And within this vast territory of sleep and dreams lies a frontier, a landscape of possibility that is largely unexplored. Lucid dreaming is an invitation to explore this frontier. It is an invitation to take the territory of your dreams seriously. It is an invitation to recognize that your dreams are not mere fantasies, not mere noise generated by a sleeping brain, but rather sophisticated simulations, creative expressions, manifestations of consciousness in a different form. It is an invitation to become the conscious explorer of your own mind. The practice of lucid dreaming offers something that is increasingly rare in modern life. It offers a space of genuine freedom. In waking life, we are constrained by physical laws, by social conventions, by the expectations of others, by the requirements of survival and success. But in a lucid dream, these constraints are lifted. You are free to explore, to create, to imagine, to become. You are free to test possibilities without real-world consequences. You are free to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do, to explore what you want to explore. This freedom is not frivolous. It is not merely about having fun, though lucid dreaming can certainly be fun. Rather, this freedom is a kind of laboratory. It is a space where you can experiment with your own consciousness. It is a space where you can practice skills, explore creativity, work through emotional issues, gain insights into your own nature. It is a space where you can learn about yourself, grow, and develop. The exploration of lucid dreaming also leads to deeper questions. As you become aware within your dreams, as you maintain consciousness even as your brain shifts into the dream state, you begin to wonder about the nature of consciousness itself. You begin to wonder, what is consciousness? Is it a single phenomenon or many different phenomena? Can consciousness exist in different forms, different modes, different configurations? What is the relationship between consciousness and the brain? What is the nature of the self? These are ancient questions, questions that have been asked by philosophers and contemplatives for thousands of years. Lucid dreaming offers a way to explore these questions directly, not through abstract thinking, but through direct experience. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Your presence here, your willingness to explore these ideas with me, your openness to the possibilities that lucid dreaming offers, is itself a kind of step toward lucidity. By learning about lucid dreaming, by understanding the neuroscience behind it, by contemplating its possibilities, you are beginning to shift your relationship to your dreams. You are beginning to recognize that your dreams are not something that happens to you, but something that you participate in. You are beginning to plant seeds of awareness that will germinate during sleep. If this exploration has brought you inner peace, if it has expanded your sense of what is possible, if it has sparked your curiosity about the vast territories of consciousness within you, I would deeply appreciate a like and a subscription to the Relaxing Science channel. Your support helps us create more content like this, content designed to help you relax while expanding your understanding of the extraordinary nature of your own mind. I would also love to hear from you. Where are you listening from? What time is it there? What aspect of lucid dreaming most intrigues you? What questions do you have? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts, your experiences, your curiosities. Your interaction with this community of explorers helps all of us deepen our understanding. As you close your eyes tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember what you have learned. Remember that your brain is about to enter a realm of remarkable activity. Remember that within the dream state, consciousness persists in a different form. Remember that you have the capacity to become aware within your dreams. Remember that the techniques we have discussed are available to you. Set your intention. Perform your reality checks during the day. Keep your dream journal. And when you sleep, allow your brain to do what it does naturally. Allow the dreams to unfold, and perhaps in one of those dreams you will find yourself suddenly aware. You will look at your hands and notice something strange. You will read some text and see it change. You will ask yourself, could I be dreaming? And the answer will come, yes, I am dreaming. In that moment, you will have crossed the threshold. You will have become conscious within the realm of dreams. You will have entered the infinite night, the vast territory of consciousness that exists within you. And from that moment forward, your relationship to your inner world will be changed. You will know that the night is not empty. You will know that your dreams are not meaningless. You will know that consciousness is far more mysterious and far more vast than you previously imagined. The night awaits. Your dreams await. The infinite territories of consciousness within you await. The journey of lucid dreaming is not something that happens in the future, not something that you will do someday. It is something that you can begin tonight. It is something that begins the moment you set the intention. It is something that begins the moment you decide that your dreams matter, that your consciousness matters, that the exploration of your own inner world is worthy of your attention and your effort. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being present with me on this journey through the landscape of lucid dreaming, through the neuroscience of consciousness, through the possibilities of your own mind. May your nights be filled with vivid dreams. May your dreams bring you wisdom and healing and joy. May you become the conscious explorer of your own consciousness. May you discover the infinite potential that lies within the night. And may you return again and again to the relaxing science channel to continue exploring the extraordinary nature of your own extraordinary mind. The threshold between worlds is calling. Step through it, explore it, become lucid, become conscious, become aware of the vast, infinite night that exists within you. The journey continues, the exploration never ends, and you are invited to participate in this exploration tonight and every night for the rest of your life. Welcome to the infinite night.